Hello and welcome to After Hours, a TV and film podcast brought to you by OTGBasketball.com. We are wrapping up season two. We have officially gone through every episode of season two and season one. You can find every episode on all major streaming platforms. But today we are doing a season two wrap up. We're going to go through our favorite episodes of this season, our favorite moments, the best moments, and then go through a couple of the awards, MVP, Heat Check, the standout character, and then maybe even give some love to a guest appearance. And with me to do so on this episode and all these other episodes, none other than Jac Manuel. Jac, how's it going, man?
I'm well, Kory. The funny thing is, we were chatting off wax, and we in the DMs, you're like, all right, let's do a review one. Let's pick out like top 3 scenes and moments, and both of us have 13.
Yeah, it's funny, right? Because as Jac mentioned, we were going to start season 3, and I was like, we can't start season 3 yet. Like, we have to at least wrap up season 2, which is, I think, in my top 3 favorite seasons of The Office, probably. Because this is what, after season 1 being kind of slow, season 2 really just takes off and goes flying. And as you mentioned, I said, let's do top 3 episodes, top 3 moments. And it was like, all right, there's no way we're going to single it down to 3 moments with a show we've watched about 47,000 times. So where do you want to start? Do you want to start with episodes or moments?
Let's go with episodes, because I think it's an interesting exercise to compare what our favorite episodes are with each other, but it also compare it with IMDb. When I was going through, I was looking at, okay, this is what IMDb rates as the top 5 episodes. I'll go through those now, and then we sort of compare ours. So Casino Night, season 2, episode 22, the most recent episode we reviewed on this podcast, had a 9.4. The Injury had a 9.1. Christmas Party had an 8.9. And both of these episodes had an 8.7, so a tied for 4th, 4 and 5. Conflict Resolution and The Dundies.
Okay. So I can tell you right now, 4 of those episodes are in my top 5.
I have 3 of those episodes.
Okay. So I can start. Let me start with mine, because my number 5 is one that isn't in that list that was mentioned. So for me, number 5 is drug testing. And I think we talked about this on that pod, even though you didn't. I think you said it wasn't with some of the haha moments. Maybe you did like that one.
I did. It's actually in my top 5.
Okay, yeah. So
5th for me as well. It's 5th for me. I had a 6th, but I'll get to my honorable mention afterwards.
Okay, yeah. My honorable mention, for the record, is The Secret. The day after the booze cruise, Michael is, me and Jim are best friends, So drug testing, you have as your 5th as well. I love that episode. And then for me, I had Christmas Party 4th. I had the Dundies 3rd, The Injury 2nd, and then for me, Casino Night was my favorite.
I was very, very close, Kory. I had an honorable mention for Michael's birthday. We talked about that episode. I know you weren't the biggest fan of it, but in terms of rewatchability, it's one of my most rewatchable episodes. I just love the Jim and Pam dynamic. Michael has been stupid and funny as always. There's some good collective moments as well. Drug testing again at 5 for me. 4 Christmas Party. I had 3 Office Olympics, because to me it is the turning point for Michael Scott's character in the show. And I love emotional Michael moments, because Steve Carell's the best. Casino Night was number 2 for me, and I had The Injury as number 1 because, man, Dwight is just on. He's LeBron James in Game 5 at the Western Conference Finals with that one.
No, he really is. That might be one of the. I think next season, I was going to mention this to you off air, but I mentioned it now. We should probably talk about some of the cold opens, right? Because The Injury has got to be the best cold opening from season 2, with Michael, of course, burning his foot in the George Foreman grill.
Yeah.
So,
classic.
So all good top 5. Obviously, we have the similar taste in having some of those being in common. And like you said, that Office Olympics was the turning point for Michael. And then also, I was just doing some rewatch briefly to charge my mind. Also, when Michael does the karaoke with Jim, when Jim has that party at his house, those are the 2 big moments where you see Michael get a little bit of a lift from those around him, which is really nice, because as we know, Michael came into this season rather disliked.
Yeah, I was doing some research for season 3, episode 1, and not to spoil anything, but there's some trivia from that point from Steve Carell about how he sees the Michael Scott character and how he sort of develops it. And in season 3, episode 1, there's another sort of turning point in terms of the quote that he gives to, I think it's a TV festival at that point in time. So make sure you stay tuned for that one next week.
100%. So now probably going to be the best part of this pod, the best moments that stick out to you and me. What are your honorable mentions before we get into your top 15, was it?
Top 13. Top
Top
13.
13. Okay.
So the unlucky 13, the baker's dozen, as they say. I'll go with, I guess, the quote from one of my favorite episodes, Michael tearing up in Office Olympics and him saying, "My heart is very full." That just, I get goosebumps. I'm getting goosebumps right now saying that. It just really, really warms me. And I think that, we talk about this show as a romantic comedy, but we also talk just, I don't think we mentioned enough as just like how emotionally moving it is in some ways when we see those character development moments. And it's just like, you just want to resonate with that, and you want to feel loved. And despite the fact that it's not a romantic Jim and Pam or Michael and Holly or Angela and Dwight, it's just a great moment. So I had to. It's not a funny one, but it's just a top moment for me. Not sure if you had that in there, Kory.
I did not have that as one of my moments at all, actually. But that's a good
one. I'm intrigued to hear. Did you have the baby back ribs quote in there?
I have that as one of my honorable mentions.
Should we go through it together? Because I remember we did it. I think it was season 2, episode 7 or 6. The client, and I just absolutely loved doing that line when we were doing it together.
Yeah,
and,
let me pull it up quick.
It's such a good line, and Michael, the rapport that he has with the actor, who is in so many awesome comedies, and Jan, we know how awesome Jan is in all of her glory. It's just, Chili's and is an iconic location for the entire show. Obviously, Pam, I feel that might be a quote that you might have as well. Pam's iconic line about Chili's from season 2, episode 1. That's certainly in my list, but just this back and forth. I don't think anyone else will probably have it, but I think we're just big fans of just this funny rapport that these two characters have.
Yeah, no spoiler alert, but when talking about the guest star appearance, Christian, he's up there for me. Like, he really comes in and he's just fantastic because Jan is expecting Michael to bomb all of this, and Michael and Christian just hit it off. So I got it up. Do you want to do it?
All right. You want to be Michael or do you want to be Christian?
I feel like I was Michael last time, so I'll be Christian. You be Michael.
All right.
And I'll be Jan too.
All right, cool. Did somebody say baby back ribs?
I don't think Christian has time for that. I have time.
I want my baby back, baby back, baby back. I want my baby back, baby back.
I want my baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back.
Chili's baby back ribs. It's so good.
It's so good, especially like how quickly Christian answers the Jan line of Christian have time. He's like, "Oh, I have time." He's like, "No, I definitely do. Like, we're okay for that."
Because Michael just tries so hard, and you love seeing him succeed sometimes because he's got a great heart.
Well, as we mentioned it, like, he turned on the sales charm at the end of that episode and really showed at some point in time before he was the manager, he really didn't get in that position by luck. Like, he was a pretty good salesman probably because he really works Christian into giving them his business.
He's born to be a salesman, certainly not born to be a manager. Let's put it that way.
Right. Do you have any more honorable mentions, or should I just throw out mine?
We'll go back and forth. Let's go back and forth because I think I'm sort of scrolling through and thinking, okay, what is my actual top moments here? I think I got a couple, but I do have plenty of honorable mentions.
Okay, so one honorable mention I had is the Fire Guys song. Ryan started the fire. So that was an honorable mention of mine. And then lastly, it was just a little bit of a back and forth that Michael and Toby are having, and Creed intertwines. Like, I didn't write down the specific episodes for some of these moments, which I should have done. But it's when Creed is like, no, Michael, he wasn't inferring. He was implying. You were inferring.
And then, you go back and forth.
Then Michael's like, well, I'm implying that you smell. No one wants to ride in the elevator with you. And Creed's just like, what?
Oh, well. Great. That's great stuff.
So, do you have any more honorable mentions? Do you want to hop in? Well, give me because I only have 10. So let's get down to your top 10. So, what are your next 3 or 4?
All right. Let me say, okay, just a little bit of a line from Michael Scott from Office Olympics as well. I'm an early bird and I'm a night owl, so I'm wise and I have worms. Let me see. Dwight as security. Oh no, Pam's performance. This is Pam's best line from the season for me. during the performance review episode. It's great. Well, last year my performance started with Michael asking me what my hopes and dreams were. And it ended with him telling me he could bench press 190 pounds. So I'm not really sure what to expect. It's her tone throughout from Jenna Fisher there. That is awesome. Kory, I'm sure you can bench 190 pounds as well.
Maybe like a couple years ago on a really good day, enough caffeine in me.
Michael Scott.
Not those days. Michael Scott's got me beat on that bench press.
Oh, there you go.
So I have my number 10 is the line from, I know this is from Christmas Party because one of my favorite lines. But Michael goes, "Is this enough alcohol to get like 12 people drunk?" and the guy's like, 20 bottles of vodka. Yeah, that should do it. And that line gets me every time. The way he looks at the bottles, he's just like, yeah, that should do it. It just gets me.
That's a really good one. I remember you saying like how much you enjoyed that line because it wasn't like we'll pick up probably some non-typical lines, picking out like from 22 episodes of an awesome season. That is a quality line, underrated, very underrated.
Yeah. And the other one I had is I don't remember the episode because again I didn't do that part of this, which I should have done. But Michael Scott doing improv. What are you doing? He said he has a gun, but he can't show me. All of Michael Scott doing improv and us finding out.
Mr. Carter.
He goes, "Listen, you bring a gun. No one can top gun. Gun always wins."
It's true. I mean, like sometimes when he's wrong, but sometimes when he's right.
No, it's true. Broken clock is right twice a day, right?
Yeah. That's good point. Good point.
So I got one more I'll throw at you, and again I don't remember the episode, which I'm sorry for. When we find out Michael is in a pyramid scheme, but we also find out that he's fallen for schemes several times in the past already. Like that's another one of the cold openings. But that was another one that I thought was that stuck out in terms of being hilarious.
Yeah, Jim just gets the text out, the whiteboard marker, and just draws the triangle over it.
He just stares at it. He goes, "Oh, all right, I gotta go make a call."
He's sometimes we talk about like his gullibility, whatever it is. It's endearing in a lot of ways because it's like there's probably some people out there that have fallen for the Nigerian prince as well, like Michael has. He's the son of the Nigerian prince. At the end of the day, you gotta answer the email.
How you gonna turn that down?
Can't turn it down.
So what's another one that you got? So I've gone through I got 7 more to go.
I'll go an honorable mention where we hear "That's what she said," with the Jim sort of luring him into it. He's like, "Does that include that's what she said?" Mm-hmm, yes. Wow, that is really hard. You really think you can go all day long? Well, you always left me satisfied and smiling. So that's what she said. That's probably the best. That's what she said. It's that old dinner party. I think that this is probably the best. That's what she said ever.
Well, so now I'm glad you ended with that because this is my third best moment of the season.
Yeah.
Because I do think it's the greatest because of the fact of you hear Jim laying out all of these great entrances for Michael to say that's what she said, and then he finally lets it off, and Jan's like, "God damn it, Michael! Like, what did we just talk about?" So that was my third top moment. But you only had it as an honorable mention.
I did. I just think that I have some lines that speak to me.
Okay.
Like another honorable mention was Dwight's speech. "Blood alone moves the wheels of history."
So, where do you have Dwight's speech?
I have it as an honorable mention because I actually have 2 Dwight moments. One of them, I don't know if it's in my actually probably is in my top 10, where he's talking about security in the office. But the speech, I think, is right up there. But I think that his security in the office line and him being concussed and the back and forth banter with Jim and Michael in the car might be the funniest moment of the season. Like, it is hilarious how good that moment is. I want to know if you have this quote from Dwight on your top 10 or honorable mentions or anywhere in there. "Securing this office park is a joke. Last year, I came to work with my spud gun and a duffel bag. I sat at my desk all day with a rifle that shoots potatoes at 60 pounds per square inch. Can you imagine if I was deranged?"
I didn't have that in there, but that should be an honorable mention for me at the very least, because that is a fantastic Dwight line.
It's
Um,
amazing.
and talking about Dwight, because you already mentioned it, I have Dwight's speech as the second best moment from this season for me.
Oh wow, wow! I respect it.
I think it's that good. Like you mentioned, like, I mean, the banging, just it's a fantastic speech. And honestly, your rendition several episodes back was one to behold.
I appreciate it, my guy. Make sure you check out that episode. I think it's season 2, episode 16, if
17,
I'm right.
17.
17, sorry. So yeah, check that one out. Kory and I like the back and forths and the quote recalling. There's plenty of it today as well. So we got some more to get through. Kory, what else you got on there, my guy?
So it's the first interaction in drug testing. Dwight and Kevin. When Dwight is laying off all of these symptoms of someone who uses marijuana. Slow, tired. And Kevin's just, hey. Oh, here it is. I got it up in front of me. Let's go over some of the symptoms of marijuana use, shall we? You tell me who this sounds like. Slow moving, inattentive, dull, constantly snacking, shows a lack of motivation.
It's that episode. I mean, we see Dwight. We've talked about Michael developing into a really awesome character. This is a massive Dwight season as well. Such a massive Dwight season.
100%. And then right outside of my top 5, I have from Halloween. Some of these episodes I just know without even writing it down, but it's when Jim and Michael are doing the reverse roll, and says, "You play the role of Creed." He goes, "You're gonna fire Creed?" No, I'm not gonna fire Creed. Just fire me. And he goes, "I'm gonna kill myself, and it's all your fault." It's one of my top moments, even though it probably hasn't aged well. It's still funny, and I have it actually saved. When we did this episode, I did like one of those screen records, and now like when my friends annoy me, I just send that as like a reaction. It's one of the better Michael reactions that you get.
It is, and I mean, there's a lot from this season that doesn't age well. There's a lot in a couple of seasons' time, like the one that when you said doesn't age well, what immediately springs to mind is Michael's roasting of the entire office, and it's just like, Oscar, you're gay, and he's like, the boom that you roasted. One of the great Michael lines. My final honorable mention before my top 5, Kory, is Pam Beesly, season 2, episode 1. I feel God in this Chili's tonight. It's probably many people's favorite Pam line. I already alluded to my favorite Pam line in terms of the performance review. I just thought that was really, really funny. But this is probably probably Pam's top episode from the season.
It's a fantastic one. Especially because as we talk, just remembering some of the Office romance stuff, which we're not going to really talk about much in this episode unless we talk about Casino Night. But the way she like looks at Jim when they're at the bar in that episode, and it's like the beginning of like, man, like, she's drunk, she kisses him as well in that episode. It's a quick peck, but it's a perfect bookmark of how this season begins with Pam kissing Jim and showing admiration, and then Jim kissing Pam to end the season on a climax.
And actually, funnily enough, when we get to season 3, right at the start where they revisit that, I'm sure people already know that are listening to this podcast, but I was watching season 3, episode 1 the other night, and Pam's like, "I think we're drunk." And she's just saying, she's just saying that, but in the first actual kiss, she was drunk. So
right.
I putting those two things together, that's a really good point.
Yeah. So something that we're gonna keep watching as we go through the Office romance stuff. I wanted to touch on that. So now in your top 5, what is your number 5 moment?
Okay, I've got Michael Scott's line from season 2, episode 6, I believe, The Fight. Would I rather be feared or loved? Easy. Both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me. It's one of the best lines in television history, and it pains me that it's only 5th.
It is my 5th one as well.
Oh, there we go.
It is my 5th one. That is one of my favorite lines of Michael Scott. It is an absolute classic. He has a lot of good lines in this season, but that was number 5 for me as well. So I'll go right to number 4. Number 4 is the Stanley line. It's the Stanley tirade. Have you lost your mind? Because I'll help you find it. That
Oh,
is my fourth favorite moment of this season. The take your daughter to work episode, absolutely fantastic. And it's actually kind of, I was surprised when I was going through this. I don't have any Pam moments in my top 10, but Stanley got a top 5 moment.
there you go. I
But
mean,
that's one of the best scenes.
yeah, Stanley, Creed, Kevin, they've at least two of those three have been heat check performers throughout this season, if not all of them. And I think we probably gave it to Stanley on season 2, episode 4, The Fire, because of that alone. It's iconic. Like it's not pretzel day, but it's up there.
Yeah, no, 100% is. I had it right in front of me. I'm just gonna go through it now.
Yeah.
That little girl's a child. I don't want to see you sniffing around her anymore this afternoon. Do you understand? Yeah, boy, have you lost your mind? Because I'll help you find it. What you looking for? Ain't nobody gonna help you out there. Jesus could come through that door. He ain't gonna help you if you don't stop sniffing around my child.
Well, it just goes to Jesus.
Action. And then Ryan goes, Stanley yelled at me today. That was one of the most frightening experiences of my life. That was good. I love that. That entire episode is actually a really good one.
It is. It's
the daughter to work day.
It is a good one.
Your number 4 moment.
I had the moment I was alluding to with Jim, Dwight, and Michael in the van.
Okay.
And trying to keep Michael awake and trying to take away the bottle of whiskey from him. And then Michael's like, give me the bottle, Dwight. Just keep your eyes on the road, Jim. Give me the bottle or you're fired. You can't fire me. I don't work in this van. And then Jim was like spraying everyone while he's driving. Yeah. Oh, it's iconic. Iconic.
That's an absolute classic line, scene, an episode. Honestly, it's a perfect combination. My third moment, we already mentioned it. That's what she said from early on. So what was your third moment?
My third moment was a romantic moment, Kory, and I'll probably use this to promo this episode. It is probably the romantic quote from Michael Scott in relation to Jim from season 2, episode 11, Booze Cruise. When Michael's like, well, if you like her so much, don't give up. And Jim's like, she's engaged. BFD, engaged ain't married. Huh? Never, ever, ever give up. And that line is been made into memes and glorious looking photoshops and stuff. So yeah. I had to give that a run because we chatted a little bit about different romantic quotes from this show. That for me, it's one of the best. And whenever you see the Photoshop, it's like Jim and Pam with Cece, and then you see Michael saying the line to Jim, and they're smiling and stuff. Yeah, I've got that photo saved on my phone, so I'm ready to promo this episode with it.
A great line from Michael Scott because, again, as much of a goofball as Michael Scott is, he has these really endearing moments, that being one of them. He also has a different moment later on with Pam at the art studio, but Michael has a great way of connecting with some of these people when they really need someone to give them some love and support. So kudos to Michael. Number 2, we already mentioned it for me. That was Dwight's speech. I think that scene is obviously iconic. Definitely check out that recap that we did of that episode 17. So what is your second moment before we get to number 1?
My second moment is Michael Scott in Casino Night saying to Toby, why are you the way that you are? I had that as number 2.
All right. Well, you have my number 1. My number 1 is the why are you the way that you are? you choose to be so many things that I hate. That's my favorite moment. I do have like an asterisk next to another favorite moment because when I did my best moments, I tried to go off like the comedy based, didn't add romance. The Jim and Pam scene in Casino right after Roy leaves and Jim confides and finally says everything that he's been feeling his entire season and says, he loves her and she needs to know that. That is probably my favorite scene. It is it's one that like still makes me like feel love. I'm like, oh my God, like this is heartbreaking. Like look at these poor kids. So that one is probably my favorite non funny moment from the entire season.
Oh, it's amazing. And I think we see so many different, we've spoken about in terms of trivia points that I've given throughout the show about how much effort and time was put into little Jim and Pam moments where they look at each other, look away from each other, they're not there, they're there, and all those different little things. But Kory, in the Skype chat right now, I've put to you my favorite quote. This will be a massive out of the nowhere for you, but I said it on, I think it was Christmas party, that this was one of my favorite quotes in the history of The Office. It is Bob Vance Refrigeration.
Yo, I honestly, I had a feeling this was gonna come up, but this is a fantastic quote sequence from Ryan, Stanley, Bob, and Phyllis.
It's so good. Everyone, this is my boyfriend. Do you want to be? Who do you want
Wait a
to be
minute.
throughout this?
Let me pull it up because I got like an ad blocker, so I'm gonna go through the other one.
Yeah. So it's where we see it's the first introduction of Bob Vance of Vance Refrigeration. Kevin is meeting him. Stanley's meeting him. Ryan's meeting him. Phyllis is introducing him. It is the best moment, maybe one of the best moments in the history of this show. Goddamn love it.
Yeah, it's top notch. I'm scrolling through it right now. Be there at any point in time. I would hope so. Okay, ready?
Ready to go. What do you want to do?
I'll be. Who do you want to be? This is your favorite line.
I'll be everyone but Bob.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Everyone, this is my boyfriend Bob, Kevin Malone.
Bob Vance, Vance Refrigeration.
Stanley Hudson.
Bob Vance, Vance Refrigeration.
Ryan Howard.
Bob Vance, Vance Refrigeration.
What line of work you're in, Bob? It's so freaking good. It, like, Ryan's best moment in the show for me. Like, there's the gif of him writing in his notebook. I am a big fan of bearded Ryan. Well, the development of Ryan's character through 9 seasons of this show is iconic. But this line for me, and the comedic timing from BJ Novak, and just this is ultimately like is Bob Vance in a nutshell as well. It's so good, so good.
The only other moment of Ryan that I like immediately pops in my head is his reaction to Dwight wanting cookie and Angela saying no cookie. And he's just, what? Like, that's probably like another moment that sticks out with Ryan. But this is a fantastic scene. And I think it actually segues perfectly into our category list now. We're going to go through MVP, heat check, standout, and guest star. So now for my guest star, I had it between two people for 2 moments. Christian in obviously The Client, and then I had Bob Vance because of this scene. The introduction to Bob Vance has got to be one of the most iconic introductions to a character in this show.
It's perfect, and funnily enough, I'm going to keep sort of giving little teasers for season 3, episode 1. The introduction we get to Andy's character in season 3, episode 1, also perfectly surmises who his character is. Like, he gives away all, and we won't say all the character traits of him, but this introduction to him, Christian, I feel like, I don't know who to pick, because baby back ribs is so good, and Christian is like so warm and funny in his rapport with Jan. Well, it's my moment of the season, so I got to go with Bob Vance.
I'm going to go with Bob Vance too. I think Vance is the winner on this. This is a huge, out of nowhere, blocked by LeBron James type of moment. Sorry, Andre Iguodala, you get your revenge maybe in the finals this year. Yeah. So now up to standout. Who stood out the most? Now, of course, as I mentioned, we've watched this show so many times through that it feels like every time you watch it, for me at least, a different person kind of stands out a little bit more than the other. I will say so far, Daryl has stood out the most to me rewatching this past season. Him giving Michael like the gang terms to make him more cultural. Dinkle or whatever. I don't remember the exact lines, but Daryl yelling at Michael when they mess up the stock room. I'll get somebody to clean that up. We're the ones that got to clean that up.
Damn it, Michael.
So for me, Daryl was a standout because it just, I don't know, I paid more attention to him this time around, I feel like, than I have in years past.
That's a good one. I think because he's not my MVP, it just has to be Dwight Schrute. I think that it's funny, at the start of this, the inception of this podcast, we were both debating, who's Jim, who's Dwight? And now I'm like, I want to be Dwight. Like, I love Jim, but like Jim's kind of a dick sometimes. He's a little bit of a bully. He's a bit of a like too cool for school. But Dwight is just so freaking awesome, and like I've loved all of his lines. We've had a couple of his moments that have highlighted been as top moments this season. So he steals episodes. Like You can build episodes, you can build season storylines story A, story B around Rainn Wilson. He's a goddamn icon.
He's fantastic. Not much of a spoiler, but he's my runner-up for MVP. Is Dwight, because he was fantastic in this. So your heat check performer of season 2 goes to?
It's got to be Kevin.
For you, it's Kevin. See, for me. It was tough between Kevin, but I went with Creed, and I don't think there's necessarily a wrong answer because I feel like the heat check award will be a battle for the most part. I feel like between Creed and Kevin.
Yeah, I looked back at all the docs that I had prepared, and it was pretty close. So I just went down to subjective bias and like Stacy,
Yeah.
and I just gave
69.
it to Kevin. It's his favorite number. But yeah, I think I just went with the fact that it's hard to say like I like Kevin more than Creed. Like if you're talking about like peak moments from this season, maybe Creed actually has it. But I think just Kevin, I like the lovable moments and lovable characters of this show. And Creed can be a little bit like, oh man, that's intense. But like Kevin is just like wholesome most of the time anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that actually just reminded me of a line I just want to say of when Dwight asks Creed, you know what this is? And he goes, something cannabis. And Dwight's like, no, marijuana. Yeah, I think Kevin was good in this. Obviously, both those guys are so funny to me. So your MVP is obviously going to be my MVP, Michael Scott.
I call Gary Scott.
I don't see him losing MVP any of these seasons. Right. I mean, it maybe there's one season that he might be able to lose it to Dwight. But it feels like this is going to be a Michael Scott, Michael Jordan like run through this podcast series.
Yeah, he's got 6 rings. He's in the show for 7 seasons. We didn't give an MVP for season 1 because there wasn't really enough sample size.
Yeah, 6 episodes.
It's like a shortened lockout season. We don't acknowledge it.
It's got an asterisk next to it.
It's got an asterisk next to it exactly. But from season 2 to season 7, Michael Scott, the Ringer did like a best character ever sort of thing during the pandemic and the lockdown.
I remember that.
Favorite characters, and Michael Scott won that. To me, he's one of the best characters, if not the best character in television in terms of our rewatchability. And we'll get to some more of his moments in season 3, episode 1. Steve Carell. I've said this before. I'll say it again. One of my, if not my favorite actor. Television, movie, whatever he's in, sign me up and take all my money, as Fry from Futurama would say.
He's got to be in my top 10 of like almost all of his work. I'm a fan of. Like I remember before I even knew about this show, I watched 40-Year-Old Virgin, and that's actually the show that kind of turned The Office around because he got so popular from that movie.
Yeah, he got ripped.
It's funny how things work like that. But then
the hair as well.
He has that movie with Ryan Gosling that I'm a big fan of.
Crazy Stupid Love is literally my favorite romantic comedy ever. Literally.
Fantastic rom-com.
Emma Stone is one of my favorite actresses ever, and Julianne Moore, iconic. If we ever
have to do a rom-com series. We've talked about this a little bit over Twitter. There will probably be some sort of rom-com movie deep dive at some point in time as you move on through The Office. But it felt like this... Yeah,
we need a GoFundMe to explore all our podcasting possibilities. We need to quit our day jobs.
Yeah, I need to do this for 8 hours.
Podcast for 8 hours a day and just talk about rom-coms, The Office, TV, sport, everything else.
So, Jack, before we wrap this one up, any final thoughts? Where can the people find you?
What I did, Kory, actually was I rated the season overall out of 10 because we did that with episodes. So if you want to, I'll provide my rating now. I went through and we talked about the ratings that IMDb gave. You said this was one of your top 3 seasons ever. I would agree. I think that the lows aren't that low, like in comparison to maybe like season 5, where it gets a little bit dreary and there's some storylines that are a bit like, okay, what's going on here? The consistency throughout, like I think I gave maybe 2 7.5s to 8s, but everything other than that was 8, 8.5. A couple of 9s because we became quite harsh with our ratings. So overall, before we started discussing this, I had it as an 8.5 out of 10, but I jacked it up that little 0.25 and I gave it an 8.75 out of 10.
So I just put a letter grade. I would definitely give it a B+, which would be right around the same range as you.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll again, this is the first time we're recapping a season, so we'll get a little bit better at this. But that's definitely a good call. Because I mean, again, I think looking back, this has got to be in my top 3 of favorite seasons. But maybe we should also not be as harsh. But we weren't that harsh. I feel like I tried to get harsh, and then I got really like high again on some of these episodes. But it's been fun going through at least 2 seasons so far, even though one was a condensed version. So B plus, you gave it an 8.7, basically the same thing. So Jack, closing thoughts.
Season 3 is on the horizon. Probably one of Kory's favorite seasons, one of my favorite seasons. 3 to 5, 3 and 4. Iconic. They start off like a house on fire. So if you are not subscribed to Remembering the Office After Hours, you need to get on that right now. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, so you can see our faces. It's coming soon there. And yeah, at the JMan JBT on Twitter, there's some stuff dropping for JBT. That's pretty cool. We've got some stuff for the Buzz. The Brooklyn Buzz is coming back. We've got the mini recaps going for all the finals games. We've got a little bit of a mini preview coming up as well tomorrow. So make sure you subscribe to OTG Basketball Off the Glass on YouTube. Hit the subscribe, the notification button, so you do not miss any content from the outlet or JBT or wherever else.
I don't even know what to plug. Jack just covered almost everything we got going on. But definitely head to otgbasketball.com if you're looking for NBA Finals coverage and for off-season coverage, because this NBA season, the minute it ends, we're going to be picking right back up into off-season shenanigans, because there really isn't that much of a pause this year because of the pandemic and everything else going on. But of course, you can follow us on all major streaming platforms. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at KWallHoops, KWAL Hoops. And until next time, peace out, knuckleheads.